So again, good afternoon and welcome to those who may be watching the recording for today's National Institute for Congestion Reduction webinar on Access Management Curriculum for University Planning and Engineering Programs. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Tia Boyd. Tia is a research associate at the Center for Urban Transportation Research out of the University of South Florida. Tia's work focuses on transportation decision making with an emphasis on access management, public transportation, strategic and organizational management, statewide and metropolitan policy planning and programming. So with that, it is my pleasure to hand the presentation over to Tia. So take it away.
Thank you, Stephanie. I want to begin by apologizing. I woke up a little hoarse today, so I may pause to clear my throat or take a sip of my water. So I wanted to make you aware of that before I jump into my presentation. So today I'm going to talk to you about the access management curriculum for university planning and engineering programs, which is a project that was completed under NYSER. And our motivation for developing this curriculum was through our work. We have identified that there are just a few universities that educate planning and engineering students on roadway access management. And many of those that do, it is included as a module or as a section in the course, but there's not many entire courses that are comprehensive on access management. And so it was our goal to collect as much information and the resources that we had and the knowledge that our research team had acquired over the years in access management to compile this curriculum to support emerging professionals as they enter practice to ensure that they have an understanding of the importance of access management on the transportation system. And so we developed a multidisciplinary curriculum on contemporary access management. I'm going to turn off my camera for just a second so I'm not distracting as I pause to take a sip of my water. So I'm going to just do that really quickly. And it facilitates the integration of access management education into the core and elective curricula of university graduate programs in urban planning as well as engineering. And so the content of the curriculum is designed to train emerging professionals in transportation and related fields, and we'll see throughout the related fields that may be included in the curricula on strategies to effectively integrate roadway access management principles and practices into public and private sector plans, policies, programs, and projects. It provides the instructors with resources to help students understand access management and how well-designed access management and that connection to land development supports the effective movement of goods and people. And through this focus on access management, we will resolve a major gap in education of the future workforce, which is that focus on access management and that integration and connection between land use and transportation. So we had a few key steps as we developed the curriculum. We first conducted an in-depth review of existing literature, guidance documents, as well as other documents on access management and related topics. We collected and consulted syllabi from planning and engineering programs. These were collected from online searches, but also we reached out to the Transportation Research Board, or TRB, Access Management Committee, or if you're familiar with TRB and their codes, ACP 60, to those members who teach graduate level courses or provide training for transportation professionals on access management and related topics. And they were so gracious, many of them, to send their materials for us to consult. Additionally, members of the research team have taught transportation planning courses. Two key members of our team are initial principal investigator, Christine Williams, before she retired, and Karen Sagerman, both were instrumental in the development of resources such as the Access Management Manual, the Access Management Application Guidelines, Safe Access for Everyone is Good for Business, as well as several National Cooperative Highway Research Program or NCHRP projects on access management, such as NCHRP 1032, How to Measure and Communicate the Value of Access Management, many of which content is incorporated throughout the curriculum and the associated guidance. So once we have consulted and collected all this information, we looked into how to best design and structure the curriculum and its resources. And there were a few things that we did. We looked at the learning outcomes and based them on the Planning Accreditation Board and the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology at the time, and relayed our learning outcomes to those core competencies for those accreditation bodies. And as we developed the activities, homework assignments, engagement opportunities for students, we look to active learning techniques from various instructional resources and instructional design content that really helped us to base not only the content in strong research-based information, but also the design of the course and the curriculum itself is based in best practices for instructional design. So here is a look at how the modules and learning objectives relate to those core competencies from the accreditation bodies. So you can see, for example, Module 1 and those learning objectives. On the side, we have the ABET, which is the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, and the numbers that are associated with each of those learning objectives. Similarly, we can see for the Planning Accreditation Board, knowledge, skills, and values, and how those relate to the modules learning objectives for each of those. There are a total of 9 modules in the curriculum, starting with an introduction to roadway access management. This is a very high-level look at access management, some of the key concepts, some of the techniques that are used. Then we get into the effects of access management, land development and access, access location and spacing, access design, the access management policy and process, corridor access management plans, legal considerations in access management, and public involvement in access management. And I do want to note that although there are 9 modules and many universities, the semesters are more than 9 weeks, usually somewhere between 15 and 16 weeks, typically depending on the semester structure, with semesters or quarters. But the modules, the lecture slides are very comprehensive, and so they are designed to be broken up at key points and can be offered in a way that fits the course structure, whether it's an hour or 2 hours, once a week, 2 or 3 times a week. So it's really designed with flexibility in mind, and it's very comprehensive to ensure that it can meet the needs of the semester structure and the course structure itself. Each module is fairly consistent in how it is set up. We include a list of applicable disciplines. As I mentioned, this was designed for for planning and engineering courses, but the content is broad enough that it can be applied to a variety of other disciplines, and I'll show you some of examples of what those may be. It includes subtopics, so an instructor looking through these resources can get a better sense of the type of information that will be addressed in each module, the learning objectives, a list of suggested readings and videos, both of which include hyperlinks where they are available so that they can easily be clicked and reviewed by the instructor. Assignments and activities, the learning outcomes and evaluation, as well as related learning outcome assessment rubrics for each module, the module evaluation, instructor notes, and lecture slides. And I'll walk you through each of these contents over the next few slides. So here we see an example of what a module may look like. It starts with a brief description of the module to really give you a sense of what it will be diving into. For the discipline applicability, you see we have several disciplines listed um, where this can apply to, or course types that this can apply to. Subtopics, learning objectives, and as I mentioned, readings are hyperlinked. Here's an example of the assignments and activities. This particular one is encouraging students to study an access management technique, write a report about that technique, and give a presentation. And and in these, we provide instructions for the students on how to, that the instructor can offer to the students and how to complete the assignment, but also guidelines that can be used by the instructor for forming the actual deliverable for that course. So the report that is within the presentation, and these are all can all be modified. These are generally suggestions. So an instructor has the ability to use them as is, or they can modify them to meet the structure and needs of their particular course. In this second example, this is of a homework assignment where they would use a spreadsheet tool to calculate and compare safety effects of an access management technique or intervention. And we have linked the spreadsheet as well as the original document that this is from, which is NCHRP report 1032, which is communicating the value of access management, to enable students to have real world practice, applied practice. And that report was designed for practitioners to use. And so we have linked it in the curriculum to enable real world practice of some of the things that students might be doing in their careers. Instructors' notes are also included, and it provides instructors with additional information on how the homework can be assigned. So, for example, this corridor management plan assignment can be broken up across the semester and offered in completed over time. It really provides options as well. Here we can see the learning outcomes that are linked to the key competencies, and they are based on the learning objectives. This is an opportunity for the instructor to look at those learning objectives, see how it meets those core competencies based on the assigned assignments and activities. And it really includes a simple, are the learning outcomes achieved? We designed it to be very simple, very standard. Um, because the content of the curriculum is so comprehensive, we thought it necessary to make the evaluation relatively high level, also understanding that universities, courses, instructors may already have their own techniques for evaluating the material that they present in their courses. And so this is just a straightforward, were the learning objectives achieved? And then a note section where we can provide more detail on maybe why the learning objectives was not achieved, and possibly additional steps to improve student learning outcomes in the current course offerings or in future course offerings. Uh, and here is a learning outcome assessment rubric that is provided in the guidance document. It is, once again, very simple, very straightforward, because we are leaning on the fact that many universities, many courses already have assessment procedures and rubrics that they follow. So this is a very straightforward, just an example to help support the delivery of the course. And the module evaluation, which is a self-evaluation that students would complete. And it just asks students to identify either at the beginning of the course for every module, if all modules are being offered, or at the top of the course, to identify their knowledge and understanding of the key subtopics and elements of that particular module. And then at the end, they will identify if they feel like if they have more knowledge or about the same, if it didn't really increase their additional knowledge, or if they feel like they are extremely comfortable in their understanding of that topic based on the course content and based on the learning activities and objectives. Um, and so this will be completed by the students and reviewed by the instructor to also help them identify if maybe the instructor needs to maybe circle back to a particular topic in the next course session, or maybe set aside time to go deeper into a topic that there's maybe a trend that students are struggling with a particular area. So just a way to evaluate the course from the student's perspective. Here's a look at the lecture slides, and these are provided as separate downloadable files to the curriculum guidance document. What I really want to emphasize in each of these, this is just the sampling from the 9, but what we try to emphasize throughout the variety of modules and the lecture slides is that access management is really both an art and a science, and its effectiveness depends on the contributions of professionals in a variety of fields. And so it covers topics that address both the art and science and things like planning, policy, physical design, and administrative considerations of access management. Um, we develop these as PowerPoint slides and provide them as PowerPoint slides because we wanted instructors to be able to add or remove slides or adjust notes as they see fit. Keeping in mind that this is really a snapshot in time. Some of this information is historical, but as policies change, as new case law is documented, we wanted instructors to be able to refresh the content as needed. We also understood that there is a need to insert local information into these PowerPoints, and the PowerPoint format enables just that. Instructors are able to add local examples or address local practice or policies by just adding or inserting additional slides as needed. There are 2 ways that the curriculum can be used. It can be used as is, the full course on access management, again, breaking up the module slides, lecture slides as needed to fit in the time slot for the course, or it can be used as a plug and play to supplement additional an existing course. And so here's an example of what that may look like. Say you have a course on transportation planning and it covers all the aspects of transportation planning, but you want a little more on access management related to law. So in module 3, let's say, you insert the module on legal considerations and access management, and you may insert all of the slides, the in-class activities, and the homework assignments. Alternatively, let's say you have your module 3, you have a lot of content already, you have your lecture materials, but maybe you just need a few slides that you can insert to hone in on a specific subtopic or a specific area, supplement what you already have in your lecture materials. You may also do this for the in-class activity. You have everything else. You need something engaging for your students in class or a homework assignment that is relevant to your course content. And so this is why we designed the course to be, or the curriculum to have so much information, to have so much content, is so that it enables flexibility for the instructors to really use this information in the way that best meets their course needs. So I'll give you a quick preview of the lecture materials, and we'll look at it from both the student side and the instructor side so we can have an understanding of what's being seen from both perspectives. So I'll start with Module 1, which is the overview of access management. Every single one of the PowerPoint slides uses this same very simple format because whether instructors choose to insert these slides to existing content, or if they use it as is, we wanted the ability for them to design the slide or update the slides if they feel necessary without having to worry about cumbersome elements or graphics that are there. Also, many of the slides include images, include charts and tables, and so we wanted to ensure that there was an adequate space to effectively show those elements in presentation style. And so the learning objectives for this module are to define roadway access management and its goals, explain the distinction between access, accessibility, and mobility, describe the theory behind access management and how the practice has evolved, identify methods used to implement access management. And so one of the first slides would ask what elements of the transportation network relate to access management. And then the animation will show some elements and ask other. What the instructor would see on their side would be the slide, but it's also including a note that lets them know that the slide does have animation. They can ask the knowledge probe question before they advance the slide to show the graphics. There are these knowledge probe questions are included in the guidance document, and these just provide an opportunity for either discussions in class to get students more engaged during the course session, or they can be used for quizzes. And so when they are provided as an optional choice in the lecture, we do include that in the notes section of the PowerPoint presentation. So as you can see in Module 1, there are 3 knowledge probes questions that can be used throughout. Our key concepts: access is the physical connection between private property and the public way. Accessibility is the degree to which several destinations can be reached from a given location. And mobility, in this case, the number of modal choices a user has available to reach a desired destination. And there is a knowledge probe question 2 here. It's a little different from the first one. It's not linked to animation, not necessarily linked to exactly the words that are on the slide, but this particular knowledge probe question gets students to think a little deeply about the concepts that are provided and share how it relates to roadway functional hierarchy. So we're taking our concepts on the screen and expanding the way students are possibly thinking about them. This provides a quick definition of access management, which is the coordinated planning, regulation, and design of access between roadways and land development. And in that, we've just included a broader definition of it to support. Also recognizing that instructors may want to add their own notes or update this, expand the definition, or adjust it accordingly. This particular module includes a list of techniques. As you can see on the note slide, there are over 60 slides in this particular a set of PowerPoint, the lecture materials. And as I mentioned before, this is because it is designed to be broken apart. It is designed to be pulled from. It is designed to be morphed into what it is needed to. In order to do that, we needed to be able to have the content to provide options. So in this particular, we're showing the summary. All of the techniques are provided in the module, but this relates to, can be related to the homework assignment that is in the guidance document. So we have a suggestion for if students are being asked to complete the homework assignment for Module 1, that they can use the techniques that are listed in the summary or were shared during the lecture, and they can pull from those for their technique report. It has the location in the guidance document, and here I pulled it on the screen for you so you can see the excerpt for this technique report. And it does include also linking back to the presentation that students may use the techniques provided in the lecture, just to keep consistency between the guidance document and the presentations as well. We also have interactive discussions for in-class to keep students engaged and to get them involved in the lecture, have them talking to one another. So this particular example has some site plans for scenarios 1 and 2. And here's what the instructor would see, asking them to show scenarios 1 and 2 and encourage them to discuss their reactions using the prompts. here is a look at the prompts to consider those issues listed and ask them how planning um, affects access and parking management, and some additional discussion that just provides some additional information on what we're seeing in the slides. So that is a very high level, very quick overview of the curriculum. It is extremely comprehensive, includes those assignments, in-class activities, homework. The appendices include additional resources for the in-class activities and assignments, handouts. Um, Additionally, we include for the some of the homework that have calculations, we also provide the answers for many of them, if it is calculation based. So really a well-rounded, thorough, comprehensive resource for instructors to use in their classes. And so it is our goal that at the end of using any element of this curriculum, students will be able to understand access management. They will be able to identify and or measure the effects of access management, communicating communicate how a lack of access management contributes to adverse conditions. They will be able to support appropriate programs, policies, and practices. They'll be able to recognize various planning, policy, physical design, and administrative techniques and apply what they have learned to different situations and scenarios. Ultimately, particularly the goals of those activities and assignments is to really get them applying what they have learned into practice as close to real world um, application as possible. The curriculum and the guidance document, all of its contents is available online. I have included a QR code that would take you to the USF Digital Commons page where the curriculum and material is housed. Um, if you click the download button, it will take you to the report itself. If you click supplemental content, it will scroll you down to the bottom of the page where all of the PowerPoints presentations are linked and available. That is the end of my presentation. I'll leave that up with the QR code a little longer, and I can also put the link to the curriculum in the chat. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tia, so much for the great information on the very comprehensive curriculum for access management. It does look like we received a couple of questions during the registration process. The first question says, can the curriculum materials be used for self-guided training?
So the materials, they can be, but it is really designed for instructors. So um, while folks may be able to walk through the content, it might be difficult to kind of sort through because they are designed for to be presented in a class format. So the answer is maybe yes, but it would be best under the guidance of an instructor.
Great, thank you. The next question says, can the curriculum materials be used by instructors for professional training programs?
Yes, so although we have designed the course for university programs, the content is really applicable to professionals as well. So a person who is leading professional training at, let's say, a local agency may be able to pull some of the slides for their presentation, um, incorporate their local practices as well. So it can be used by for professional training with some additional elements to make it applicable to meet the agency's needs.
Great, thank you. It doesn't look like we have any additional questions at this time. I have dropped the link for today's the survey or evaluation for today's webinar is dropped in the chat box. So do please take a few moments to complete that evaluation as the feedback provided is very important to us as part of NICER again, and Tia has dropped the link directly to Digital Commons as well in the chat. So again, on behalf of the National Institute for Congestion Reduction, thank you so much for attending today's webinar, and we'll see you all real soon. Bye, everybody.